I will now call to order the special board meeting of the District School Board of Collier County in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Administrative Center boardroom.
Collier County, Florida is affluent, overwhelmingly white, and twice voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. It seems an odd place for a row about race and political philosophy, a topic previously confined to obscure academic journals. But activists in Collier County are doing battle over the au courant culture war issue, the teaching of critical race theory, or CRT, to K-12 students.
So what is this meeting about? It's about textbooks, books filled with Marxist, communist, racially divisive ideologies.
CRT is a decades-old academic idea centering the role of racism in cultural and political life. But in the current debate, its meaning is ill-defined.
This critical race theory urges intolerance of all human beings that have been created in the image of God.
I do not agree with teaching children how to feel about things. That is called indoctrination.
I'll be damned if I will allow a Marxist revolution to take place in this country, and we need to reject our children even being taught it.
The Department of Education, Corcoran personally has said that he has directed his staff to go out to all of the publishers and get this critical race theory and all of its tentacles out of the existing materials that have been approved.
Keith Flaw is the founding director of the Florida Citizens Alliance, a conservative group that crusades against curricula it deems insufficiently patriotic or excessively progressive.
What did you see in those two books that you looked at? What did you object to?
Critical race theory. What critical race theory boils down to is teaching kids to hate their friends, teaching them to focus on race rather than focus on character.
So let's look at some of these examples from the K-5 books that you were objecting to the other day.
What I did was go through the teacher's manuals that are used to teach these books. And what you find is that it builds the foundation for critical race theory, not on the 3 words of critical race theory, but it builds the foundation on culturally responsive training, equity versus equality, social justice. So those are all innocuous terms in many people's minds, but when you look at how the left is now using those to drive the whole perspective of critical race theory.
What is the sentence in here?
I'm not sure there is one.
There isn't.
The terms, see, that's where most
No,
people
I don't even mean the terms. I mean the concepts. What in the book conceptually do you object to that teachers will read this off?
Culturally responsive training is a whole notion in the book. Equity versus equality is a whole notion.
But that's in the book that the kids will read.
No, that's in the book the teachers are using as a guide to teach the kids.
Do you have the section where it says something about equity over equality? Is equity mentioned in the teacher's guide?
I don't recall. Equity, culturally responsive training is clearly identified.
What is culturally responsive training? What does that mean?
Culturally responsive training is a fancy term for multiculturalism, dividing people by ethnicity.
Where is this from?
This is from the homework our team did.
So that's your language, not the language of the textbook.
It's language we found in the literature. I don't know what you're looking for, Mike.
I don't see anything in here that says that they're teaching critical race theory.
This is all very subtle. We've said that from the beginning. Critical race theory is a very subtle ideology that permeates. This is identity-based racism, Marxism. If it looks like a duck, talks like a duck, and walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Despite a lack of specific examples, and in the face of organized citizens, the board delayed approving material it previously found unobjectionable, on a curious technicality.
I do feel very strongly about this, so I'd like to make a motion to defer the vote today.
None opposed? All right. Thank you all.
Jen Mitchell is the vice chair of the Collier County School Board.
It's not the book itself. In fact, you said it was a pretty good book.
It's a great book. I objected to material that I saw on their website that I was alerted to by a citizen. It's very clearly speaking about BLM and all these very controversial areas around race. Now that we're aware that the publisher took this position, maybe there are some things that might jump off the page and appear to be maybe not appropriate if we take a look again, knowing what we know now. So I think we just need to do the best that we can to kind of create this bubble around our kids and keep that type of stuff out of the classroom.
Meeting adjourned at 1:20.
Just days after the Collier County School Board erupted in acrimony, the Florida State Board courted controversy when it took up new rules explicitly banning K-12 teachers from, quote, teaching critical race theory. The measure had been championed by Florida Governor and likely 2024 presidential candidate Ron DeSantis, who kicked off the meeting.
So I know you guys are going to consider the critical race theory prohibition, and obviously that's something that we've been supportive of in my office. We've got to have an education system that is preferring fact over narratives.
Both sides of the debate claim a monopoly on truth, typically in stark contrast to their opponents, who are said to traffic in lies and propaganda, though few proffer a definition of what exactly constitutes truth in history.
The proposed amendment that you all are looking at requires that teachers define American history based on standards in the Declaration of Independence. At that time in our history, black people were property, and they weren't even considered to be people.
Teaching the facts will bring the country together, not divide the country. We need more critical race theory if that's what it means, teaching the truth. We need more of that in schools.
This is a deliberate plan to politicize and whitewash history.
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Stop it.
Susan Eric Kirk.
We say
your time is up. Thank you.
Allow teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth. Allow teachers to teach the truth.
Allow teachers to teach the truth.
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess because the court reporter needs it. Ma'am, Mrs. Acker, we will come to you when we come back in.
The protesters failed to stop the anti-CRT move, and the board went a step further than originally expected, passing a version of the amendment that prohibited teaching the New York Times' controversial 1619 project.
With that, I appreciate everybody being here, and we stand adjourned.
We discovered that less than an hour after passing the new rules, members of the board still seemed unclear on what they had just approved.
One of the things that is slightly troubling is the 1619 project is explicitly banned as resource material at all in the school. Does that mean you can't even discuss it?
Can a teacher bring it up and discuss it? I'm sure they could. It doesn't ban that. It bans it as the basis of the curriculum. Mm-hmm. It's not to be taught in the classroom. Nothing we did today was about excluding or banning or preventing anyone.
But that one pretty specifically says you cannot.
It cannot be used as the basis for the curriculum.
Not exactly. The amendment is vague, stating that instruction may not utilize material from the 1619 project. And this sentiment is spreading. Anti-CRT-related statutes have passed in 8 states and are currently under consideration in dozens more. And they're often written in broad and unspecific language, raising concerns about free speech rights and academic freedom.
Some of them are laughably unconstitutional, and some of them are probably actually already banning things that are already banned.
We spoke with Greg Lukianoff, a First Amendment lawyer and president of FIRE, a group that monitors and legally challenges abridgments to speech in education.
Like, what is driving this kind of mania that's all happening right now?
Yeah, critical race theory isn't the best term for what they're reacting to. Now, I've heard from parents all over the country with concerns about pretty aggressive identity politics coming in. And they don't, understandably, they don't want their little kid being told when they're 8 that they're responsible for slavery. That being said, some of these laws are popping up before there's really been a problem related to it. And so the CRT laws that have been passed so far are just so sloppily drafted, it leads their opponents to actually argue, does this mean we can no longer talk about slavery?
That's kind of troubling, right?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the argument that it's chilling speech is almost certainly true. With my lawyer hat on, can they do that? Almost certainly, unfortunately. Supreme Court law, when it comes to the rights of K-12 teachers, they're very weak.
That's the thing that troubles me about this. It's like, you can't use that material. It strikes me as like, okay, well, how do I know that it's wrong unless I read it?
The big part of this is the complete lack of trust that the culture war has bred.
You're teaching children to hate others because of their skin color.
They're afraid that K through 12 teachers, that cohort has become so radicalized that they can't be trusted to teach it in a way that is actually pedagogically sound. I'm willing to bet that's going to happen sometimes, but you shouldn't assume that's going to happen every time. You can't have serious discussions.
I have seen curriculum for students as young as 4 years old, where they are teaching them this ideology.
You know, I talk about we live in certain times, and people think of like, oh, you mean uncertain times? No. There is a great deal of moral and ideological certainty at this moment. And that's why people are scared, because if you come from the point of view of certainty, you're saying, oh my God, we're not teaching them the noble truths of the founding of the United States. But if you come from the other side saying that we're not teaching the fundamental truths about the evil of the United States, it's understandable why people don't trust each other on these topics. It's just going to get more and more ferocious because everybody is culture warrior 24 hours a day now.